Welcome back. We're back on Stinkbug, our 1950 Chevrolet pickup, and I have some updates. After last time getting this thing running, kind of looking at the motor, doing a little bit more research, I started to question if this really is a 216. And I had questions for a couple reasons. One is the 216s should have valve cover bolts that come through the top, and they should have a tall side cover here. So I started thinking, like, maybe this was swapped. Maybe it's a 235. Maybe it's something else. So this morning, I came in here and I cleaned off this pad behind the distributor, and then the actual block casting number is down here, which you won't be able to see. But I got those numbers and I Googled them, and this is, in fact, a 235 cubic inch inline six, which means that without doing much besides a little research, we picked up 19 cubic inches, which is good. That's the easiest stroker motor I've ever built. The other cool thing about that is this engine is from 58 to 62. I don't know exactly when. There's more numbers that I can't see right now that would tell us like the day it was built. But what it means is this is a full pressure 235, which is good because it means it has traditional insert like bearing shells like a normal small block Chevy would, and it's not Babbitt. And it means it should have decent oil pressure. The early 216s ran at like 25 to 30 cold and basically 0 hot. This one should have, 45 pounds of oil pressure, maybe 25 hot going down the road. Still not a ton, but a lot more. Generally, more oil pressure is better. Still doesn't have an oil filter, which isn't uncommon for these old rigs, which is fine. So I think today's plan, now that I know what it is, I want to go ahead and try to rig up some sort of temporary fuel system to get it up to operating temp, and then I want to drop the oil, change that, maybe try to figure out an ignition switch, maybe even jump in here and try to take some of this dual fuel stuff off. I do have a carburetor for it. I'm not sure. I know the float in this is stuck, which I think is this. We might just try to unstick it and run this. I haven't decided yet, but let's go ahead and dig in and see if we can't get some fuel to this thing from a jug or something. This here is a knockoff Rochester single barrel that I got off Amazon. Haven't even opened it, and I just want to maybe have a look and see if this looks like it's gonna work for us. How does it work? Well, that's a choke throttle, so it sits like this. No, it doesn't. It's like that, or like this. I'm worried that our linkage has been modified to rock this weird setup they got going there. Now there is a hole here. We have some extra stuff that's been like welded on here, but that is still there. I wonder if that would work. Okay, I found some stuff I think it's going to work, so I think that's where we're going to start for today, is ripping out all this stuff and putting that other carb on. It's going to clean this whole area up. I have it, and I just, it makes a little more sense to me. So that's what we're going to do. The only thing I'm a little nervous about is this is vacuum for the vacuum advance, which we'll have to, I think there's a vacuum port in that carb we'll have to figure out, and then linkage. Otherwise, besides all the bolts that are probably going to break off, this shouldn't be that bad. Hopefully that other carb, this vacuum port, can go. I feel like I may be reusing little fittings or lines, so I'm going to attempt to not cut anything. So I have a bunch of AN stuff laying around, but I don't have a bunch of this compression stuff. The other thing I want to do today, if we get this running again with the new setup, is jack the rear end up and see if the clutch works. Maybe crack the master cylinder and see the brake pedal sticks to the floor. Wonder if it's just, I mean, I'm sure we got leaks, but there we go. Okay, so we got this free. Need to fish it out of here somehow. one did. Let's try the other side before I get too excited. It helps me go the right way, but it does turn. That's a socket endeavor on that side. Working from a distance. Outside. Oh, the whole stud came out. At least it didn't break. That's fine. We can deal with that. I don't have a stud kit. Linkages. Oh. All right. Look at all the room we got. Now what is going on here with these gaskets? From what I've read, 216 to 235, somewhere in the production run, these holes changed center to center distance. But, oh, that looks like it'll work. Just because I can't help myself. Let's just have a look how she's gonna. Oh yeah, get this over here. Whoa, that'll go in one of those, and we'll do. Look how much cleaner that looks. It's gonna be so much better. So we're gonna have to run bolts, not studs, for the new carb. So I'm gonna double nut this and then try to work the bottom, maybe with some heat, to get this stud out without. I'm sure this is fine. Things are happening. It's gonna be so hot and it's gonna try to fall down in the intake, I'm sure of it. Almost ready to start putting the new Amazon Chester carburetor in there, but I want to clean up this gasket surface a bit. This is going to sit on there like this. I got bolts that'll hold this down instead of studs, which will give us the clearance we need to the bottom here. Fuel comes in right here, and then there's a vacuum port here. So this is our fuel. That's happy. This can be bent if I can get something in that port. One thing they mentioned, which we're going to do, is they recommend pulling this cover off and just making sure like the needle and seat isn't stuck, because they say they can after shipping from China or whatever. So we're going to pop this off, make sure everything is clean and moves free in there. Then we're going to deal with our fuel inlet, which I have this old nitrous fitting, which is a -4 to pipe that threads in here. I don't think it's perfect, but we're going to dope it up. And then we'll run a barb kind of like that, I think. That's a little smaller ID than the line that's on it, but I can't see this thing having a huge fuel demand. So we're going to try it, plus that's all I have. Okay, and then the other thing we need to... Oh, I have a straight too, if that works better. Put that in there. The other thing we're going to have to do is figure out that vacuum port. Now I have this small brass nipple, which actually threads in there pretty good. So I think, and then we could do like rubber vacuum hose. I could cut off that hard line and I think we can make this work. Take all this stuff back out to the truck and have a look. Okay, it looks like I might have to hurry up or pull my tent over us, because I think we're going to get a little bit of weather. I'd like to get that hole covered at the very least. Let's bolt this baby on there. Fresh gasket. Carb. Oh yeah, I'm going to want a straight, not that. Get both of these started. I had to modify this bolt a lot like we did the cam bolts on the 440 to get it in here. It appears that this is intended to be used with a stud, but they give you no room for a stud. You also don't have room for a bolt, which must be the cheap part of this whole deal. That's on there. That's good enough for today. Carbs installed. Bop, 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 bop. Tomorrow it's going to make that noise. For now, we're going to run away from the weather. Good morning. It's a new day. We got rained out yesterday, but today's looking a lot better. So we're going to go try to finish up this carb install and see if we can't get this thing running, get it hot, change the oil, rig up a fuel system, stuff like that. So we got the carb tight yesterday. And I think before we go too far, we're going to hook the linkage up and make sure we're getting full throttle. And then we got to do fuel into here and vacuum. Oh, I need to tighten that. And vacuum into there. And then we'll probably turn our attention to the fuel system and see if we can't rig something up. While we're at it, now that we know this is a full pressure motor, there's a little T down here that goes to the factory gauge, which I have a little mechanical test gauge that I'm probably going to try to get this fitting out and put it in, and we'll just like kind of tape it to the firewall or something so we can make sure we do have oil pressure now that we know it's a little bit more important since this isn't a Babbitt pounder. But for now, we'll move on to linkage. This little piece here was added for that other setup, but I think the factory piece will work if we can get it lined up with this hole. Yeah. See? Okay. And somewhere I brought a pin. We'll go in there and we'll bend that over, but for now, I want to step on the pedal and see if we get full throttle. It's going to be hard to do by myself. Did it go up and down? Okay, so I just had Ricky come over and stomp on the throttle, and it looks like we're getting wide open, which is good now that we have such a large motor, you know, that 235 in here. I'd like to maybe hook up this choke cable, which is very long. It doesn't seem to move that good. I used to have a cable loober. I wonder if I could find it. Let me just pull on the dash real hard. I'm going to pull on the dash real hard. Tell me if that moves up and down. Oh, it's not happy. Probably didn't move like it all, huh? I think we may need a new one of those. So we're going to tuck it over here for now and forget about it. Okay, let's finish up over here and connect fuel and vacuum. Then we'll go to the other side and we'll try to figure out what we're going to do for fuel supply. For now, we'll be manually choked. Why did it just stick on? There we go. Whatever. We'll figure it out later. So we need to get from here to there, which it shouldn't be that hard. We'll probably just use rubber line and use this ferrule as something to clamp against. And then come right to here. We're going to clamp on both sides. And we'll do the same with vacuum tubing for this. This is the vacuum source for the distributor vacuum advance, which is probably pretty important. So we'll make sure to hook that up too. This thing's a hot rod now. It's got AN fittings in it. Guaranteed to make your car faster. Come over that, and then we'll clamp on the downside of that compression ferrule, and hopefully it acts kind of like a barb. I got some vac line that I think will work. Am I going there? Yeah. And we're going to hook up this vacuum port. We're going to do the same thing over the little compression ferrule and use that as kind of a barb to clamp against. Okay, change of plans already. I went and had a look at what they had going on for fuel line delivery system, and it is interesting. It looks like both tanks have the ability to be used. There's like a selector valve that's frozen shut. I have no idea which one's currently selected. All the lines look like they were pulled out of the bottom of the ocean. I'm not going to deal with any of that right now. So what we are going to do is our fuel system is going to be a 5-gallon jug in the passenger seat. And because I want to know if it's pulling fuel, I'm going to cut this line and put a filter in line, this line here. That way I can stand here, work the throttle, and see if fuel is actually flowing from the pump. There is what appears to be a little bit of a, I don't know if it's factory or what, but there's a filter before the pump. So I'm going to put this one after the pump, just that's kind of like a flow check. So we'll snip this, put a filter here, a couple more clamps. And then when it comes time to start this thing, we'll just dunk the end in the gas jug, and that'll be fine for now. Fuel filter installed, on the line in. Let's go ahead and deal with the heater hoses now, and then we'll deal with the oil pressure. And then we'll, it's 930. Make some noise. It's that gauge that I was talking about. Basically, it's just like a compression tester, but it's for oil pressure. Anything. It doesn't have to be oil, I guess. But it's got all these adapters. I think we're going to be in this region here. And then just a QD. Where we need to go is way down here. Okay. Come out without snapping. God, that would be terrible. There we go. Bring this up here where we can see it. My guess is 8th MPT. I don't know what size that hex is. That would have been a smart thing to check. I'm sure this size will fit. Get our gauge out. Okay, and just like that, we are monitoring oil pressure. All right, so here's where we're at. It's officially too early for me to feel good about touching this open header 235 off. So we're going to do other stuff while we kill some time. First of which, I think we might put the seat back in. Just have something to sit on. And then the other thing, if we feel real ambitious, the brake master's right here. Might try to get the cap off that and see if there's any fluid in it. Put some in, see where it leaks. The clutch appears to do clutch stuff, but the brake pedal does this. It sticks down. I see the rod moving though, so maybe we should just try it, right? I thought about pulling the tank out, but I don't think I'm going to do that for now. I think we should just set the seat in it and maybe, position our battery a little better. We got to get a fuel jug in here, just in hopes that maybe we can move this thing around the yard today. Okay. Seat back first. There's 3 tabs down here. It sets in, it looks like. It just sits there. There's supposed to be screws that go in here. We're going to leave those out. And this, besides the front, I think it goes like this. Oh! It'll be fun when I ground that out on the battery. Probably should have done this part first. This will be the hard part here. All right. Whoa, I'm too tall for this thing. Still don't have brakes. This is a 4-speed, so let me think here. SM420. I think that's reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4. Reverse. So these have a Muncie SM420 synchro mesh. Is what SM stands for. It's got like this incredibly low first and reverse. It's like 7.05 to 1. And I don't know what's in the rear of this thing, but I'm guessing 456s. That's a stump puller or an unusable first gear. So I think we'll be starting in second. 2, 3, 4. I don't think you can shift them that fast. All right, I think it's almost time. So I got my little squirt bottle full of fuel. I'm going to fill the bowl through the vent. And then in here, I've got my SFI fuel cell hooked up. Fill this bowl, hook up my battery connections, and see what happens, I guess. We're going to touch this off. Hopefully, quickish, we see fuel flowing here and oil pressure here. Tried. Okay. Now don't forget, I made 0 adjustments to this carb. All right, we're going to try to pour some of this straight down the carb. Whew. Okay. It tried to fire with a little throttle. So I'm going to put a little in it. Okay, so it didn't pull fuel yet, but we did have 40 pounds of oil pressure. It might take a minute for that pump to start pumping. No oil leaks down there. Let's try it again. Okay, so it's not pulling fuel like at all. Maybe we haven't ran it long enough. I can't seem to keep it running long enough without it getting fuel. So we're gonna pull a line off, probably right here, and I'm gonna fill back down, and that's gonna fill this filter and hopefully wet that diaphragm a little bit and maybe kind of prime things. So that's what we're gonna start with. The good news is it had oil pressure at like 40 pounds, which I don't think you can ask for much more out of one of these old girls. And the carburetor seems to be carbureting. I just need to get fuel in it. Try to fill back. There may be a check valve in that filter, and that's why it has an arrow. Attempt number, I don't know, a bunch. That's the most annoying part. Wants a little more of this. Kind of popping, shitty sounding. I was nervous it was gonna blow fire back through the carb when I had that in my hand. Okay, we are a couple attempts away from hooking up an electric fuel pump and seeing if we got a fuel delivery issue or Chinese carburetor issue, but not giving up quite yet. Okay, so temp fuel system jug in out. I got to get a fuse for that, and I got to connect this side. And I think what we'll do is spill gas all over. What we'll do is we'll leave the filter, I guess. Yeah, because I want to see the flowage. I'm gonna hook the pump up and see if the needle and seat in this brand new Amazon Chester Heiko unit can hold back that pressure, because then we can just let it run. If not, we're gonna have to do that stupid dance where we run it, unplug it, run it, unplug it. Okay, I'm gonna hook fuse up, hook that up, and then we're gonna pump fuel and see if it starts blowing out the vent or not. Oh, it's pulling. There's fuel. Is it holding it back? Seems like it is. Bowl should be full. Fuel pump's currently disconnected. We got fuel all the way up to this line. See it flowing. I'm going to hop in, try to get it fired up. Hopefully it'll just sit here and idle. I'll jump back out and I'll connect the fuel pump. Okay, it's running. Pump is pumping. About 40 pounds of oil pressure. Something like that. Good oil pressure. This is the longest it's ran. Vacuum advance is working. I can see the distributor. No idea what it's got for timing. Distributor lock. Getting warm. We're down a little bit on water. So I got the oil draining. I'm gonna let it drain for a while. It's hot. I want to get all the old stuff out that we can. While we're waiting, I'm gonna top the rad back up. I did see it come up a little bit and it was circulating, so I think the water pump is pumping. Now hot. When I come back, we'll put the drain plug back in, fill it up with oil, check it. I have no idea how much it takes. I think about 5 quarts. Then we may need to strap some things a little better and see if this thing will, if like the clutch works. I think that's the next step. See if it'll restart too. That's all right. So we're going in with 4 quarts right now of Shell Rotella T4 1540. We'll let her drain down and look. And I also want to check that drain plug because the crush washer is split. I don't know if I split it taking it out or if it was always split. I put it back in there, but touch nervous it's gonna leak. I got oil dripping all along here. I'm wondering if, see these holes here I learned are for the coil mount. I wonder if they go straight through to the head, and when I filled it up, I filled it too fast and oil came out. All right, I got a couple bolts that will, I guess, act as plugs. I don't know if that's what was happening or not, but there was not oil there when I was running it, and then it really dresses up the engine bay too, because the bolts I had were stainless. All right. So here's what I'm thinking. I want to see if it'll restart. I also want to see if it has gears. So I'm going to have to strap the fuel tank to the bumper or something. Not that big of a deal. And I'm going to have to leave the hood open, so I won't be able to see. But we're not like driving it. We're just going to see if the clutch works, put it in gear, let it out a little bit, and see if it lurches forward. We'll have our hand on the coil, rip that off if things go wild. So fuel tank, SFI, external, fuel pump, set up good, tight. Oil pressure gauge is going to lay on the fender. I moved all my stuff. I'd like to be able to close the door too. I don't want to pinch my coil wire. Let me look at that real quick. I'm real nervous to roll this window down. I wonder if the wing opens. I don't want to break anything. That's a negative. That goes enough to do this. Let's actually come through here. Sketch level midnight. We're just going to try to see what happens. See if the clutch works is all. All right, I'm going to leave you guys out here. Okay. I'm a little nervous, if I'm honest. It went somewhere. It's moving! How do I get out? I think the clutch is rubbing on the flywheel a bit. We got it moved. It's not really any straighter. It's just crooked the other way. We got a clutch, boys. First time it's moved under its own power in at least 13 years. That's when I saw the video of it running, doing a burnout, so let's call it 13 years. That's not too bad. That's it for this episode. Please like and subscribe. Still got lots of work to do, but I feel really good that this thing is a runner and a driver.